'twas a dark and stormy night, nor'easter rolling in. It's a long 12 hours, the power's out again. I pray for inner strength and that we don't lose no lives. Just another day in the first responders' eyes. Half a cup of coffee's gone, the first run comes in. A car slid off the road, there's a family trapped within. My heart beats like a hammer, I can barely catch my breath. I'm thinking the worst and hoping for the best. Yeah, we ain't superheroes, we're just ordinary people trying to make a difference, and the first on every scene. It's a heavy, heavy burden to carry all this burden when you can't unsee the things you've seen. It keeps going on. When those sirens are gone. Now my shift is finally over, I gotta deal with what's mine and try to find a way to leave those tragedies behind. So I hug my 2 children, I kiss on my wife. Just another day in a first responder's life. Yeah, we ain't superheroes, we're just ordinary people trying to make a difference, and the first on every scene. It's a heavy, heavy burden to carry all this burden when you can't unsee the things you've seen. It keeps going on. When those sirens are gone. Flashing lights fill the air, broken bodies everywhere. Another bad dream is stealing my sleep. 'Cause we ain't superheroes, we're just ordinary people trying to make a difference, and the first on every scene. And it's a heavy, heavy burden to carry all this hurting when you can't unsee the things you've seen. It keeps going on. When those sirens are gone, it keeps going on. When those sirens are gone.
Hey everybody, welcome to Mad Radio with John and Sam. We are your first responders network, healing our heroes. Hey, it's another great week here, and John unfortunately is back on shift work, so y'all are stuck with me again this week. Hopefully we'll have John back next week. Hey, we have got an incredible show for you this evening, and I want to start off by just saying that this show is dedicated to the Blue Warriors that we lost here in Dallas 5 years ago. It's the 5th year anniversary of the Dallas 5 shooting that took place downtown and took the lives of some very brave men, and those that were wounded. They are suffering. I've had the opportunity to meet some of them over the years, and they still remember it like yesterday. So today's show in honor of Dallas Police Department Corporal Lorne Aarons Officer Michael Kroll, Sergeant Michael Smith, and Officer Patricio Zamaparia. And we also lost the DART police officer Brent Thompson. And you guys always in our hearts, never forgotten this day. It doesn't get any easier. You know, we just were coming off July 4th. We celebrate America. And then 3 days later, we're reminded of how fragile life can be. And so we say your names and continue to honor you. We pray for you every day and for the healing of your family members and everybody at the Dallas Police Department and DART Police Department. And, with that, we have an incredible guest today. He is the president of an organization that I had the opportunity to meet at Carry the Load just this past May in Reverchon Park in Dallas. And they are changing lives one build at a time. I'm going to bring Ross into the studio here. Ross Dobelbower is the president of Motorcycle Missions. And Motorcycle Missions, they do builds. It's a mentorship program which is aimed at getting our PTSD warriors connected with the motorcycle community, working with their hands and subsequently renewing their sense of passion and purpose for life. They actively participate in motorcycle builds, and you, sir, and the organization have served more than 250 first responders and veterans throughout your short 5 years. Happy almost 5 year birthday coming up here, and it is an honor to have you, sir. Thank you so much for taking the time out to be with us this evening, and thank you for your service.
Thanks for having me, and thanks for spotlighting Motorcycle Missions.
You bet. Like I said, we first met at Carry the Load in Dallas this past May, and John and I, we highlight everything first responder that is making a difference, because you and I both know, 22 used to be the number. Throw in first responders, our law enforcement officers, and we are well over the 35 a day. And so this is really a unique piece of, let's call it what it is, therapy. And we also know, if you guys are out there listening, do your homework on post-traumatic stress, what it looks like. In 2021, our audience understands that it is not one size fits all. John and I talk about this cookie cutter approach. It does not work. What worked for me, I got a very intensive EMDR therapy for my post-traumatic stress, saved my life. That doesn't always work for everybody. And organizations like Motorcycle Missions started thinking out of the box and realizing that once you separate from service, you kind of leave that portion of you behind. And it's about bringing people back together with a common purpose, a passion, and doing things. So you get out of this, which does really bad things when we sit on the couch by ourselves, and into something. Ross, take us through your story, how you became involved in Motorcycle Missions, and what it's all about.
So I'm in my 29th year of law enforcement here in Texas. I've already retired from one department and went to work for another department. Part of that is different environments, and part of that is building multiple retirements. You know how that works. So I did Marine Reserve right out of high school, got mobilized for Desert Storm. No big deal there. I finished my time in the Marine Reserve, was a full-time police officer, was on duty on 9/11. I told myself at the time I was only 31 years old. So I said, I have tons of that I can give back. So I went down and re-enlisted in the Army National Guard. So I ended up having concurrent careers. And I think that my first responder experience and my law enforcement experience truly helped our mission when I got to Iraq on my first tour, because I had already experienced a lot of those traumas, seeing dead people, car crashes, serious injuries and things. Whereas some of my younger guys, I had to kind of be like, hey, let's focus, because they're coming into it fresh. So I always looked at it as a positive, not thinking that it would compound what I had experienced as a police officer, and then in Iraq and then Afghanistan. And for me, it came to a head probably it was New Year's Eve 2014. I was at a party. I don't play poker, but some of my friends are playing poker. And there was a guy who happened to be there I'd never met. And we were having some drinks. I was about a mile from my house. And it turns out he served in the same exact area as Iraq as me. So we were drinking and we were talking about attacks and talking about things that we'd seen. And he knew intersections and he knew specifics and he knew the city like I did. And it kind of just brought it all back. I woke up the next morning at home. I don't remember coming home. I don't remember driving home. I don't remember any of it. And so for me, I said, I need to get some help. Because I've had an amazing career as a law enforcement officer, yet here I am driving home and don't remember it. So I got help. I went to a neuropsychologist. She was amazing. It was a 13-week program. Unfortunately, I tried to stay away from the VA because I was still serving and I was still up for promotions. I was trying to obtain E8 in the Army. I still wanted to remain deployable. And while they say there's not a stigma, I'm going to tell you that there is still within the military stigma. And from the time I got help, I did everything I could to fight that. I would tell my soldiers every year, I had the issue, I sought help, best thing I ever did for myself. So I've always ridden motorcycles. I've been on motorcycles since I was 5 years old. They've been a huge part of my life. I've always owned one. But I'd never gotten into building them or dismantling them, or other than adding little things here and there. So I bought an old Yamaha motorcycle. It's actually a show bike in my office right here. But I bought it. I started tearing it down in the garage. And so me and my stepson at the time tore it all the way down to the frame, took every part of this motorcycle off, and then I would come home from work every day and I would start putting this motorcycle back together. And I realized after 3 or 4 months, I'm like, this is like, some people go and play golf, some people go and drink, but this is what I do. This is my therapy, my hobby. I couldn't wait to get home and start working on that motorcycle. So I finished the show bike, and I was at an event for the International Motorcycle Show in Dallas, and I run into Crystal Hess. And I don't know if you met Crystal at Carry the Load, but she's an amazing individual. She has just a go-getter personality. And I truly believe that she lives, people will say, whether you've served in the military or not, you can still serve our military. And she suffered trauma herself. I'll give you just a brief history of motorcycle missions. She was a trauma survivor herself, got out of a horrible relationship, had a storage building full of a motorcycle, just parts. So she reached out on Craigslist or whatever it was and said, hey, I got this motorcycle. I don't know what to do with it. It's all in parts. You can buy it, whatever. And then one of the local shops there in Austin reached out and said, hey, we want to teach you how to put that back together. So as she put that motorcycle together, she relives it and says every part that she put on, new part that she put on, was kind of like rebuilding herself. And so she had a realization, hey, this is amazing. While at the same time, back in 2018, I'm in my garage doing the same thing. So I run into her and I learn about motorcycle missions, and I was like, this is it. This is perfect. This is me. This is what I do when I go home, and this is what she's doing. And so I got selected to be on a build. I wasn't anybody special. I submitted my name. You can go to the website, submit your name. I got selected for a build, and it was the one where we built the sidecar rig, and it was one of the ones that was out there at the I carry load. But I told her when about halfway through that build, I said, you're never getting rid of me. I'm here. So use me how you will. Send me here, do whatever, build motorcycles, mentor. You're never getting rid of me. So eventually they voted me in as president. I guess they figured I wasn't going anywhere. But she calls me like her North Texas motorcycle missions representative. I do everything that needs to be done up here. And then she handles Austin and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's how I ended up with motorcycle missions. And it's just an amazing organization.
Yeah, and talk a little bit about, when we were done with our first mission, whether it be in as a first responder or in the military. I talked about at the beginning of the show, we our identity is a little lost, because let's face it, we become our job. Whenever, what do you do? Oh, it's Sam the cop. Mm-hmm. Oh, it's Ross. He's a cop. That's our persona. When we're really working to try and change that to build in, so this is better. Where it's like, I am Sam. I happen to be an officer. That's what I do for a living. Because I watched a lot of what you had on your website, when the folks that you featured talk about that separation, talk about how they sat on their couch for months, not really knowing what to do. You have always stayed active, but this never got shut off. Everything that you that's on the website about you and your struggle with post-traumatic stress. When did you realize that, hey, this isn't talking to me, and that we're on to something here?
Well, I can tell you to speak on what you're saying about you finish your mission. You normally with active duty guys, let's say you join the Marine Corps and you do your 4 years and you're in the infantry or whatever, you deploy to Afghanistan 3 or 4 times. You're with that core group of guys. They get you, they understand you. It's kind of like being around police officers. Cops like to hang out with cops. And it's not that they feel that they're better. It's that they want to be understood. They want to be able to have that gallows humor without being judged, all that stuff. So say you did your 4 years in the Marine Corps, and then they say, here's your DD 214. Good luck to you. Here's your local VA contacts. You go home. You're no longer with those guys that you served 2 and 3 combat tours with. You might be friends with them on Facebook, but if you're having a hard day or hard night, you can't always reach out to them. You don't know their work schedule or whatever. So I always found it strange that they send these guys back to, say, somewhere in Iowa in the middle of nowhere with nobody that they ever served with. So they get where you're saying, where they're on a couch and they're drinking too much and they don't know how to process it all, and they don't have anybody who understands. So I can tell you on my motorcycle missions build, there was an amputee from Afghanistan and an amputee from Vietnam. And those guys bonded and they sat there because those are the only 2 that understand what it's like on that build to lose a limb. Mm-hmm. So I would listen to them telling stories and the Vietnam guys like, well, when I came back, they didn't do this and they didn't have that. And Justin, Afghanistan vet, he's an amazing guy as well. But I saw them bond, and I saw different branches bond, and it's because they're seeking that out and they're looking for that bond. And the VFW is not always a great place due to generational differences. American Legion is good, but when you get a core group like that for a purpose, And then every one of them is an alumni of Motorcycle Missions, and we have an alumni Facebook page. So Crystal pushes out, I mean, she's the workhorse, of course, but she pushes out, hey, we're doing this, and once you are an alumni of any of our programs, you're welcome at any of the programs. So if you say you've gone to the welding class, and then she says there's a welding class coming up next weekend, you're welcome to come down there, weld metal together, do whatever. Because she and Motorcycle Missions, we want to keep that bond, that understanding bond, that camaraderie that I'm sure you saw in the videos where they were, this is giving them a whole new direction. And you do build friendships. And the Marine Corps used to call it event association, where you go out and get into a bar fight with your platoon mates, and then first sergeant has to come get you. Well, that's an event, cohesive event, right? So the same thing goes when you tear down this motorcycle and you build it into this amazing show bike, and then you do the reveal, and then you go to every motorcycle show that it's at, and the core group is there, and that's that event association that kind of builds bonds and builds you together. So I hope I answered the question.
Yeah.
But I'm passionate and I can talk about it forever. So.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but most of the people that come that are approved for the different builds, I think you guys are on build like 11 or 12, something like that. They you don't have, most of the people to have no experience. They're like, I'm gonna do what? So they don't know how to weld. They don't know about the gears. They don't know about putting the chains on, nothing.
And that's where our huge mentor network comes in. We have guys who are alumni, but also mentors, like Joey Wilhite of Wilhite Racing in Austin. That guy, so much knowledge. The same thing. There's a gentleman in Arizona who's a huge mentor of ours, and I'll probably give you his website information after. But those mentors are the ones that come in and they donate their time because they believe in it. And our land speed bike was built at Wilhite Racing, and it was a donated bike, donated by a family of a veteran who never got to complete it. But on that build, there's also Austin police officers and Travis County, and there's firemen. I mean, we give the firemen a hard time, but it's all first responders. It's not just military. My build had a guy named Joe, who's a retired Fort Worth firefighter. He's just the nicest guy you ever want to meet. But so they come into it, they don't know what to expect. We had one build. That bike's actually in my garage right now. It's an all-female veterans bike build, and it was hosted again by amazing mentors through Crystal's connections and networking at the Doffo Winery out in California. Well, they have Doffo Moto, and they build these amazing custom restored antique bikes. So they said, yeah, we're going to open our garage, and we're going to bring in all-female veteran crew. And some of them came in, they'd never touched wrenches, they didn't know anything, and they built a show winning bike. It's won several of the international motorcycle shows. So that's the cool part, is that there's no judgment, there's no expectations. You just come and get out of it what you get out of it.
Now, I have to say, it is pretty badass that not only was Motorcycle Missions founded by a woman, Crystal, but on your website, you guys highlight that all women's veterans build, as well as I believe woman holds the land speed records over 200 miles an hour on, and that was on one of the bikes that you guys built, correct?
No.
Okay.
You're speaking of Jessie Combs.
Yes.
She was a good personal friend of Crystal and our vice president, Sophie. Sophie is an amazing female bike builder, just an amazing human being. But they were both personal friends with Jessie. They had started a foundation with her, and Jessie was the fastest woman on earth. I mean, I don't want to misquote the top speed, but I think her average was 500 and something miles an hour. And you have to do so many runs to get an average. And she was killed on the last run. the car disintegrated around her. Huge loss. Obviously, Crystal and the whole female motorcycle community. I mean, Jessie was the first female Grand Marshal of Sturgis.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Of the motorcycle rally. She was beloved by so many. So losing her was huge loss. But that's where that empowering female mindset comes from Jessie and from Crystal and from Sophie and from so many others that have been involved with us. And of course, I'm fully on board with it. So my fiance rides her own motorcycle. We go all over the country. So
that's great. And there's a great video of Jessie. I think it's like if it was in reverse time, it would actually be, she would be the first video on there. It's a great video to watch and to understand. So where do you guys get the frames to like build this bike? How does that work?
Well, I'll give you a quick example. The build that I was on, there's I don't know, a lot of people don't know about it, but it's amazing. In Dallas, it's called the Haas Motorcycle Museum or Moto Museum. I don't know, I can't remember the address, but it's downtown. I didn't know it was there until I got involved, but it is one of the most amazing motorcycle collections probably in the United States. So Bobby Haas, the owner and founder of it, he's very generous to us, takes good care of us. And he reached out to Crystal and said, I have this Road King sidecar motorcycle that I'd like to donate to the program. So he donates it. And then we have big, I want to say sponsors, Metzler Tires, D&D Exhaust. I mean, I could list off a bunch of them, but they donate parts or they sell them to us at cost, so that we're not, paying somebody else's overhead. But that's where we get everything to build the bikes. And then, of course, through that sponsorship, we help advertise for them on social media. We tag them in our posts. So that's where that comes from. And then a lot of it comes out of Crystal's pocket. It has for many years. I know many times that she's, maxed her credit cards and then was able to pay them off. And she's really kept it running in the leaner times, which is why I volunteer and donate as much as I can.
Yeah, speaking of leaner times, I mean, everybody got hit hard by COVID. Obviously, you guys couldn't get together and do these bike builds, but from all of the exposure, all of the donated parts, but also the mentorships and people's donated times to teach the skills, you actually expanded into motocross. Explain how that happened.
So we have veterans who they're on a bike build and they said, I've never ridden a motorcycle. I'm here. I want to learn. I've worked on cars. I've worked on 4-wheel drive trucks, but I've never built a motorcycle. So Crystal had this idea for starting a motocross program. And we start with 125cc bikes. They're the family Honda versions, so they have electric start. You're not trying to kick start it all day. Through that, she pitched the idea and got a sponsorship from Bell Helmets, Fox Motocross Equipment. So these companies donated, I don't know how many pairs of boots, pants, jerseys, helmets, gloves, neck protectors, everything. And then Motorcycle Missions bought the motorcycles. And so it's just a wonderful weekend where they come out, and sometimes their families come just to watch. We would like to eventually get into smaller dirt bikes, like little tiny ones where you could also incorporate veterans' kids. But they come out and we have motocross mentors, guys who are former motocross racers, or, they do it as their passionate hobby on the weekends. So it's just a chance for them to come out, learn how to ride a motorcycle, start on the dirt. And I did it. I haven't ridden motocross since I was like 18. And so I'm 51 now. I went when I was 50, and I couldn't walk for 3 days afterwards. Man,
oh my gosh.
It was so much physical effort. Mm-hmm. But the whole weekend I was there, every veteran had a smile on their face. Couldn't wait to get back on the track. When can we get on the track? Well, we got to wait for this race to end, or we got to do this. But on top of that, the program also teaches them bike maintenance. So at the end of every day, they have to change the oil. One of our sponsors is Motul. So they have to change the oil. They have to check all the fluids. They have to clean the chain. They have to wax or oil the chain. It basically teaches them basic motorcycle maintenance, and they sit around and they do all that. And then in the colder months, there may be a fire pit. Guys sit around, have a cold beer at night or whatever, and that's more of that bonding, meeting veterans from their area, and they're bonding through event association with this motocross. And I remember one of the guys who he was in my motocross class. He put on there, "I wish I'd have found this years ago. This is the greatest thing that I've ever been through, that I've ever done, to help him as a veteran." So, yeah, that's a great program, and it's growing. So,
there's a lot of different programs. They talk about wind therapy and the freedom that you find when you're on the bike, you're out. One of the veterans in the videos talks about how he saved up his money, got his first bike, and they're like, "Hey, you got to bring it back for the 1,000-mile oil change." Okay, no problem. Gets on his bike, goes to Salt Lake City, spends the night, drives all the way back 1,000 miles. And for him, it was again being in a with himself, though. But because he's on a motorcycle, you can't stay up here because you got to be aware of what's going on around you. But the freedom that it gave him, and it sounds to me like any program, whether it's motorcycle missions, whether you're kayak fishing, whether you're camping, motocross, when you are doing the activity, okay, that's first, is that you're in it, you're immersed in it, it's all around you, you're outside, you're in nature. That has a healing aspect, but it's what you just said, coming back, whether it's around a campfire or you're all hanging out at a tavern or at a hotel, and you're able to talk about your common experiences, which is the trauma that we all suffer, and as first responders and as veterans, that's the bond. So we've got the activity, we've got the trauma, and you tell me, it's like it's almost like round robin. Oh yeah, we saw this, we saw that, and you're thinking, wow, I'm glad I didn't go through what you went through, right? Yeah.
And having been a cop for so long and been in the military for so long, I have a lot of depressing stories. You know this.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'll be at briefing at work, and the younger guys will be like, "Okay, that was a depressing story, DB." I'm like, "Well, I'm sorry." But they'll be telling a story, and then I'll tell a story. And then it's not that I'm trying to one-up them. It's just that I have those depressing stories. So I won't ever say suppress, but I try to be cognizant of that and try to focus on the positive stories as well. And I think that's what tends to happen the longer you're away from that trauma. If you can get help and if you can process it, the longer you're away from it, the more you focus on, I won't say the better parts of the deployment or the better parts of the career, like the 4th of July event we just had in the city where I work. That's always uplifting to go and be around the public, the general public, in that type of a setting, not going to their house for disturbances or arresting them or whatever. But those are positive things. And like you were saying about, so you have the motocross camp. You don't want it to be a fleeting moment where they say, "That was the best weekend I've ever had," and then bam, they're back on the couch. So that's why we try to keep them involved as alumni. Or, "Hey, we're doing a motocross camp. You've been through it, your experience. Come out next weekend, hang out with the guys. Come work the booth, come sell T-shirts, come do whatever." But it gets them involved and keeps them involved in it. And go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say all of the stuff that is donated. You mentioned Fox with the motocross stuff. You mentioned the companies with the motorcycle build. How do you get the buy-in?
That's all Crystal. I'm telling you, she's
I mean, it
amazing
helps to
at
be
doing that.
beautiful blonde. So
Well,
I
of
mean,
course, yeah, that helps.
yeah.
That helps, but she will never be limited to just that. Um, she started building bikes after somebody taught her to build bikes, and then she's built some amazing show bikes before motorcycle missions. And so she built those connections through the hand-built motorcycle show in Austin. She's built great connections with the International Motorcycle Show, custom builders. So she's built that relationship, and that has then paid it forward with her contacts with corporate sponsors. We were supposed to be, I'm not sure if I can talk about it, but we're supposed to be building a bike for State Farm. We're still going to do that, but because of COVID and everything else, State Farm's direction has kind of changed. But we're still doing it. It's still going to be a State Farm bike. So that's a huge sponsor when you think about it. State Farm approached, or Crystal approached, and they worked out that, and they meshed it together and said this is going to be positive for both, and it gives State Farm some great publicity for helping veterans programs. But she does that all the time. And we have more people who want to build bikes than, number one, we can afford, number two, we can man, and number three, that we have a location for. So we have a build going in Phoenix right now at Buddy Stubbs Harley, and that's something where she built a relationship, and Harley's Buddy Stubbs Harley said, we want to sponsor it. We want you to do it in our shop. They give normally cost on parts. So that's an example of one of them. But we have people who submit from all over the U.S. So, we're trying to grow, hence why we linked up with Carry the Load, trying to obtain, help through them as well.
Yeah, additional funds. And you guys were an official partner, so you received a portion of the funds that Carry the Load raised. And this year, man, huge thank you to everybody that came out, that everybody donated, because this year, so post-COVID, raised more money this year than Carry the Load had in the past, and it was just a privilege and an honor to be able to be a part of that and have you guys get a portion of that. Now, how many people are on a build at one time?
It depends on the build, anywhere from 6 to 10. Okay. Somewhere in there. I mean, you have to keep it manageable.
Sure.
On my build, I want to say that, and you always start out with, she tends to bring in 10, 12, and then you'll whittle it down. It'll be the 6 or 8 core members who can make it every week, or, who stick with the program. You're going to lose some, but I know on mine, because I've been molding motorcycles and I've been on motorcycles my whole life, Crystal would say, who wants to learn how to mount tires on wheels except for Ross? Because I would be like, I want to do it. I want to do it all. Who wants to learn how to put a chain drive on a motorcycle except for Ross? So,
well, yeah, you're the mentor there.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't, but she was trying to ensure everyone else got involved.
Sure.
And so I've kind of assumed that role on other things now as well. Like, step back, Ross. You don't have to turn the wrench. Show them how to turn the wrench. But
yeah. Now, you had mentioned in the beginning of the show that the bike build that was done here in Dallas with the sidecar that was at Carry the Load, that's in a local museum, correct?
So it was donated by the Haas Museum, and we decided that we would keep it in what we call our stable, because here recently there was a veteran who had a wish that he wanted to go on a motorcycle ride. He's a paraplegic. So how do you make that happen? Well, you put him in a badass custom sidecar build. And so Crystal and the guys took him down to Circuit of the Americas, COTA in Austin. And it's on our Facebook page. You can see him just smiles all the way across, and they're running him around the racetrack in that sidecar build. So that one's going to stay with us. We do have one of our first builds. I want to say it's called the Porterfield bike. It was pre-me, so, but that one is in the Haas Museum. It's in the back corner. It's a beautiful build, and Bobby Haas has it on display there. So, yeah, we have a few bikes that that have been out and about at dealerships on display,
Okay.
things like that.
And then you also have, so the Will Height, is that how you pronounce his name?
Will Height Racing, Joey Will Height.
So yeah, so he races, and one of the pictures, I'm gonna try and share the screen here so people can see some of the bikes. Did he race? Did he drag? I'm totally butchering it. You drag race a motorcycle has a name.
Well, yeah. So
yeah,
you do drag race motorcycles, but this one is a land speed bike.
Okay.
So it's run twice a year at the Texas Mile, and it's called the standing mile. So from 0 miles an hour to as fast as you can go in 1 mile.
Wow.
I want to say his highest, it was super crosswinds back in March when we did it. I think he was just under 200 miles an hour. So if you can imagine on a motorcycle from 0, bumping the clutch.
No, I cannot imagine that. I mean, I have a Mustang GT and I've pushed that thing, but no, not a motorcycle. That's fast.
But if they can see the picture of it, you'll see that it's a purpose-built land speed bike. And our future plans, right now it's naturally aspirated, which means a carburetor with gas.
Okay.
But
I was going to say, you're going to have to start explaining things now.
No, it's just carbureted with gas.
Okay.
Or fuel injection with gas. But now our plan, I think, for later this year, is to supercharge it or turbo it. He wants to hit 300 miles an hour. That's his goal.
Wow. And I would imagine Mom Nature has to like cooperate and like you said, crosswinds. So we need either winds coming from our back. And let me see if I can share the screen here. I'm going to go here. Let's see. Okay. So are you seeing the screen?
No, I don't see it.
Let's go up here. Here's the gallery. All right, let's do share screen. Share. Let's see. This kind of learn on the fly here. All right, so we're in the in the gallery. Can you see it?
Yep.
All right. So this is what the top looks like. I love the old style Indian motorcycle. You've got this full.
So if you pause for just a second, these two bikes at the top, these two Indians side by side. Yep. That was a biker build-off challenge that Crystal did. She had an Austin team and a Dallas team, and they built against each other. And then they went to various shows, and basically the bragging rights was who won the most shows with the bikes. And then they were both auctioned off and sold to put the money back into the program. But that was really cool. Those guys still, many years later, are like, oh, Dallas team, no, Austin team. And they go back and forth. Part of that brotherhood.
Well, that's great that they have the built-in rivalry, because that keeps everything alive.
It does.
It keeps the most fun, the most positive parts, front and center in the brain, instead of dwelling on the negative, which is so easy to do. And then here's you talked about the first all-female bike build that you had out at the winery, and just beautiful, in California. And some of the bikes here, and I wanted to go find. Let me see if I can find I want to show the race bike that. Let's see if we find it in here. But this is just an example, you guys that are watching, the different bikes that are used. Here's our friends at 22 Kill. We know them well. So whether it's Harley, whether it's Indian, we've got standard motorcycle here. It seems that a lot of, like I said, the corporate folks are just, they're totally into that. Like, it's a complete no-brainer. And Here you go. This is this the Dallas build?
That was a different build from, that's one of the bikes from the Dallas build. That Ducati right there.
Mm-hmm. Yay, Ducati. But there's a trike. So you guys built a trike?
That one was actually built for a veteran. So that
That's
he would
awesome.
have a bike to ride. Yeah. That's the
That's
Ducati
awesome. Okay, here's the Ducati.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I'm gonna stop sharing this tab. And what I want to do is I want to jump over to, let's see here. I want to jump over. Maybe it's in the build section.
I think it is. Yeah.
The you know what I'm talking about, right? The Will Hope bike. Let's see.
If you scroll down to the bottom on the build tab, you'll see build 10 in Austin. If you're on the right page.
All right. This is the speed bike, right?
Yep.
Yeah. With all the, this is your logo on it. And so I also, when you guys do these bike builds, I see, who in memory of Cliff Rainey, not only are you, again, bringing healing to the forefront, you're healing together, you're on a common mission, the bike builds. Do you dedicate the build to memories of friends who's ever on the build, or was this one unique?
So that one was unique because that bike was donated by the family of Cliff Rainey, who was also a veteran. And I'm ashamed to say I don't know the full backstory, but that bike was donated by his family for us to finish and to make it into a land speed bike.
Yeah, so I'm going to stop sharing here and come back live with you.
So there are one of the cool things that Crystal likes to do is anytime there's a build, with the exception of the build I was on, they'll have a panel somewhere on that bike, and that bike will have all the different unit patches, police department patches, or fire department patches who helped build it. So
that's awesome.
The Red Indian had it. The bike that we're currently building in Phoenix has a panel on the back of it that has all the patches in it. So
now the one thing that I thought that is on your Facebook page that I thought, it just hits you here, is as part of Carry the Load. If you guys listening are not familiar with Carry the Load, we are carrying the memories of our fallen friends and family members who paid the ultimate sacrifice so that we can do this every week and then talk to amazing people like Ross and promote this mission. But in there, I guess Crystal put together a gallery, if you will, and it says who you guys were riding for.
And that was one of the really cool things that Carry the Load did. They understand we're a motorcycle organization. And I've done Carry the Load on Feats, my black Cadillacs, before. But it was really special that they said, you know what, we recognize you're a motorcycle missions organization, and we want to allow you to ride in support of. So no matter where we were, if we were in Dallas, if we were wherever, you could set up your ride in memoriam to whoever you were riding for and get on your bike and go. It's pretty cool.
It's great. That's great. Now the bikes that are taken around, I'll say that tour. So you do the bike build and they can, hey, we're going to go here and unveil it, or we're going to go here and set up a tent and talk about motorcycle missions. Does the core group travel with that bike?
Yes. If they can, if they can get off work or whatever. The sidecar build made it to the finals in Chicago. So I'd never been to Chicago. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to follow my bike up there and be there to answer questions. And because that's kind of a big deal at motorcycle shows. You build a custom bike and you have it there while people are looking at it, or while the judges are judging it. It's always best to be there so they can say, well, why did you do this and why did you do that and how did you make this happen? I see so many bikes that are custom built and they send them on the show circuit and nobody goes with them. It's like a lost dog just sitting there. You know, it's a beautiful bike, but where's the people that love it? You know, love the bike, be there with it, be passionate about it. And that's one thing that Crystal does real well too, is we have, I don't think we're going to do it this year, but in years past we've done Sturgis, and she blocks off hotel rooms and gets the core group of guys to go up there and, you know, do the Sturgis experience and be there with the bikes and to see the custom bikes on display. Or
Oh, that's awesome. I'm gonna start running the website here. So if you guys want to see some more amazing pictures and read all about Crystal, all about Ross, and the incredible people that are involved in motorcycle missions, it's motorcycle-missions.org. How do you do fundraisers? Like, how do people give to the mission?
I mean, through the website, or we also do Facebook fundraising. You can click on the different links on our Facebook page or on motorcyclemissions.org. There's actually a donate button. It'll say like build, get involved, donate. So make sure I'm not telling you wrong. I know it's on there.
Yeah, so if you just go Motorcycle Missions on Facebook, and you'll see the stuff that we were talking about from Carry the Load on there, and more about what you do. And I encourage everybody to visit the website and go to the testimonials and listen and watch the videos, because that really, you really get the full impact and understand how what this does is, you know, brings people out of, not only off the couch, away from the drugs and alcohol that has plagued a lot of them, into a purpose with others like themselves. And frankly, when we're with people like ourselves, that's where we can really engage and thrive and do awesome things like this. Well, Ross, this has been absolutely incredible. Every show that we do, we ask our guests, this is your time right now to speak to our law enforcement officers and first responders out there. If you could tell them anything, what would that be?
Don't let your ego get in the way of seeking help, for sure. There are a lot of people who cover it up really well, who think that their coworkers are going to think less of them, and it goes for military members as well. You are surrounded by people who love and care about you, and so don't for 1 minute hesitate to reach out if you need help, because that number 35 that you gave out earlier, that's just crazy. It's ridiculous. There's no reason. Yeah. Reach out to someone, and if you're an officer and you see someone struggling, reach out to that person, whether they're on your shift, whether they work for your department. If you know that they're going through a challenging time, reach out. If nothing else, is to send them a text message and say, hey, brother, I'm here. Hey, sister, I'm here. Love you. If you need me, text me back, call me back. You'll be surprised how many people actually return that text and say, yeah, I'm having a crappy day, or I'm having a crappy week.
Well, thank you so much for noticing, because it's one thing that John and I preach is like the signs are there.
Yep.
No, you know, we're trying to smash the stigma, and part of that is looking out for each other. You know, that thin blue line, we got to stand on it. We got to stand firm. We have to take care of each other in the end. Well, Ross, again, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us tonight to talk about motorcycle missions. Again, folks, I've got the website scrolling across the bottom of the screen. It's motorcycle-missions.org. Check out the amazing stories. Check out the incredible bike builds. I mean, you'll not believe from seeing it just from a frame to what it turns out to be. And thank you, Ross and Crystal, everybody that's part of the board at Motorcycle Missions and all of the mentors. Thank you for being open, for being vulnerable, for letting people know that it's okay not to be okay, and that come on down to the shop. We've got what you need.
100%.
For sure. So until we meet again, my friend, I never know. I might sign up for one of those. One of those builds. You got my blood flowing here. You know, I love motorcycles. I don't have one. I know my mom is probably watching, yelling like, "You're not getting one either." A lot of doctors in the family that have seen some horrific things on motorcycles. So, a really fast convertible was the next best thing that I could do. So, again, thank you so much for being with us, and we'll be
Thanks
in touch.
For having us, for sure.
You bet, Ross. Take care, and be safe out there.
All right, thanks.
All right, you bet. Oh my gosh, what an incredible show tonight. I feel like in a way I've seen it all, and really one therapy does not fit all when it comes to your mental health and mental wellness. If this lights you up, motorcycle-missions.org. You can apply. You'll fill out a form online to be part of a motorcycle build. Hey, get out there, enjoy the build, enjoy learning new trade, and just take care of yourselves. And that's the most important thing, is we have got to take care of our community, our first responders. They're walking around with targets on their backs. And like I said in the beginning of the show, this show is dedicated to the Dallas 5 that we lost 5 years ago, 7/7/2016. We will never forget you. We'll never forget the families, and we honor you. And hey, folks, every week I talk about how you can make a difference. Now, if you're watching us on YouTube, jump on over to our Facebook page, which is, you go to facebook.com. You can put in the search Mad Radio. You'll see a picture of me and John. Click on that and follow us there. And if you're a part of our Facebook family, jump on over to the YouTube, and you go to youtube.com, Mad Radio Texas. Okay, Mad Radio Texas. Because when we get to 200 subscribers, we can do a lot of cool things. So go ahead and follow us over there to help make this show continue to happen and to really make an impact for our first responders out there. John and I, we head up an organization called A Badge of Honor. Go over to abadgeofhonor.com. You see more about the workshops. At the very top of the screen, it says Mad Radio/donate. We are a Texas domestic nonprofit right now. If you're in Texas, go ahead. Every penny counts. Seriously, every penny counts, so that we can continue to do the amazing things that we're doing with A Badge of Honor, making a difference and healing our heroes out there. And for those of you who have been contacting me talking about how Texas is changing in terms of its concealed carry, license to carry, we will be changing to a 2A state. Whether in law enforcement you're for it, against it, no matter what, we all believe across the board, training. Okay, it's not about just picking up a gun and going out there. Let's really understand what it means. So if you want to support the show in a super unique way, go to carryintexas.com, grab your training. I've put up a lot of free resources so you can understand the new law that takes place on September 1st. And to all of our first responders, our law enforcement officers, everybody out there that is protecting and holding the line here at home, we love you. We're praying for you every day. Please stay strong. please understand it is absolutely okay not to be okay. We just don't want you to stay there. If you need help, ask for help. If you realize that your partner or somebody that you work with isn't quite acting, the way they used to, things are a lot less jovial, reach out. Hey, you okay? Talk about that crappy call. Be there for each other and for our men and women fighting overseas for our freedom so that we can do what we do right here at Mad Radio every single week. We love you. Thank you so much for your service, your dedication to our country. Until next week, folks, this is John and Sam, Mad Radio, signing off.